House to Home, presented by RE/MAX Diamond Realty.
Three. Holiday, everybody. Jason Salas here, and I am joined after a small break with my avenging angels when it comes to real estate, Liz and Gina with RE/MAX Diamond Realty. Liz, Hoffaday, welcome home. Welcome back to 671 Soil.
Thank you.
And Gina, a lot of 671 Soil you actually have personally purchased, or you've been involved in the transactions of those. So, thank you for having us.
Always happy to help.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about probate because one thing that you guys kind of like mentioned to me just anecdotally off the cuff a while ago was that probate transactions, some people just think, okay, if you have to go to probate, let's get this done. It's a one-time deal. You got to go through court and everything like that. And then hopefully, cross your fingers, if you have a favorable outcome, that's the end of it. But that is not the case in a lot of situations, right, Gina?
There's a lot of moving factors that are involved in probate. And so, often what happens is we have family members that come to us and they'd say, my grandparents' properties was probated, and I'll just give you an example, my brother and sister, so this is my grandparents. So the property went to my mother and her siblings, right? Because it was her parents. And my mother's already gone. And so during the probate, it says it goes to the estate of, and they'll put my mom's name because this was property from her parents. So now my brothers and sisters, mom got her share. And so her share goes to us because she's no longer with us. And we've had some families come in. Some families have come to see me, have come to see Liz and say, there's 5 of us and we received this property through probate and we'd like to sell because, we could share it, but it's not really, it's one house or a piece of land that we can't cut up. And so let's just sell it and we'll split up the money. Fantastic. And then we go and we look and we're like, you haven't done your mom's probate or your dad's probate or, and they're like, oh no, but it was distributed to us. It was distributed to our mom, so we have it now. We're her heirs. And no, it actually doesn't work that way. Once the property is distributed to the heir and that heir has passed, you also need to go to court and do the probate so that it could pass to you. And we've been trying to explain this to families,
Yeah. So even though it says it's Gina's family and it's her siblings that, let's say, are getting the property, there's a process. You still have to probate it in order to have it distributed to the heirs. So if there are 5 heirs, you have to go to probate. And then the question is, how do you distribute it to the 5 heirs? So you can state it's going to the 5 heirs and it's 1/5 undivided interest. Gina and I have had people who that may be the case and one heir wants to sell. If it's 1/5 undivided interest, that one individual cannot, they could sell their interest, but they're tied to the remaining 4. So it's a bit, I wouldn't recommend someone would buy into 5 siblings because then you're all in bed together. And if you want to do something, all 4 parties have to agree. So we've had situations where it's distributed to the 5 heirs. It could be distributed as undivided interest, or they could have something written where they could subdivide the property and then each heir will get their share of the property if it's big enough. But in most cases, the property isn't big enough to distribute to the 5 or the 10 heirs. Fortunately, some, they're able to do so. But again, you're all linked together. So it's a bit complicated when you get to that point, and the attorneys normally will guide you in terms of that process. Mm-hmm. But what we want to do is educate people that just because it says you're the heir of your mom, you're the heir for your mom's estate, it doesn't mean all of a sudden you could sell it. you have to go through a court process.
And this isn't even taking into consideration the fact that, you know, even though you say, like Liz, that was a very good example you gave about like 5 siblings, they may all get along and they may all be, you know, we want to honor, you know, mom and dad, nana and tata and everything like that. But then all of a sudden when there's land and it's valuable, greed starts creeping in and people may start, you know, squabbling, or they may, you know, like the literal land grab, right? And that's just human nature. These things are going to happen. I mean, I was involved in a probate transaction once, and the judges basically said, okay, everything looks in order, but we have to go through the books and do this by letter of the law. And nobody's, you know, there's no contention with it. It's good to go. And some of my friends told me, they're like, you know, you're really, really lucky, because they've been involved in stuff where people start squabbling over the land, and it's a very tiring process.
It creates a mess, Jason. And you know, what we're really trying to educate the public about is, and Liz and I have had so many conversations about this. When I go in, let's say I went in to probate my grandparents' property so that that property could be distributed to my grandparents' heirs, which are basically my grandparents' children, not me, but her children. What we're trying to encourage people to do is, you know, study the distribution and take a look at it, because if you go through that process, and honestly, that could be 6 months to 6 years, sometimes longer. I have a situation where there's absolutely nobody's contesting the probate. We're all wanting the probate to close relatively quick, and we're on our 3rd year of just sitting and waiting. And, you know, there's many factors for that. It could be the court, it could be the attorney's busy. I mean, who knows, right? There's reasons for everything. But the thing is, if I'm handling that probate and I look and I say, hey, wait a minute, one of my aunts and one of my uncles is already passed. The thing to do right now is to ask the heirs of my aunt and my uncle, who are going to be received, you know, they're the heirs of their parents, right? You know, knock on their door and say, hey, do you want to do your probate for your mom and your dad now, along with grandma and grandpa's probate? So when it's done, it's done. That's what we're encouraging, because if you don't, the property is going to get distributed. And let's say you are able to subdivide it, right, Liz? Let's say I've got a piece that can be cut up into 5 separate lots. Well, my aunt and my uncle, their heirs, can't do anything until they go to probate. So why not do it now? Get it over with.
Well, Liz, we got to run because we're running out of time. But Liz, I wanted to give you the last word on this. How often do you, as realtors, see this kind of, you know, let's call it extension of a transaction? You know, like it just delays the process and it just drags on and on and on.
It's funny, but frequently. It's a frequent occurrence that we encounter situations like that. And
more
that's
so
why
on Guam, or is this just industry-wide across the nation?
I would say it's industry-wide, because probate is probate. And when property comes to the family, there's got to be a process. So that's why whenever we get inquiries, we're always saying, well, how is it titled? And then we would do a preliminary title research just to reconfirm that the information we're getting is accurate. We don't just accept all the inquiries at face value. We as professionals have to verify. We always have to make sure the information is correct, because even though the information in their eyes are correct, when we get the title may reflect something totally different, and they may be unaware of how it was deeded. So as professionals, it's our job to double check.
All right, ladies. Well, thank you so much, as always, for your insight and your expertise. And ladies and gentlemen watching this, as we have learned for the millionth time here on House to Home, owning a property is not exactly as simple as basically saying, I want that home. Where do I sign a check? There's a lot of different factors and everything. So go see Liz and Gina, because they will explain it to you as they do to me every Tuesday. And I'm more than happy to receive that kind of information. Ladies, thank you so much. See you guys next week.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. We're out of time. Good night.